Buenas tardes, o buenas noches, o buenos días a todos ustedes, mis alumnos. Today, vamos a prepararnos. Vamos a prepararnos. We're going to prepare ourselves, prepararnos para hacer oraciones simples. ¿Cómo hacer oraciones simples? Well, we're going to need to know how to construct them. We're going to need to have plenty of nouns and pronouns, plenty of verbs, and plenty of things to talk about. So, some new things today for you, some review for you today, and then a bunch of new vocabulary. Y a mí siempre me encanta. It always delights me. Siempre me encanta tener vocabulario nuevo. Entonces, primero, para estudiar cómo construir, hacer la construcción, cómo construir frases, necesitamos tener un sujeto y un predicado, a subject and a predicate, un sujeto y un predicado. Ana, aquí es el sujeto, y Ana estudia español. Entonces tenemos un verbo y un objeto, sujeto, predicado, sujeto, verbo, objeto. Ana estudia español. O otro sujeto y predicado, el niño es creativo. Tenemos el niño, el verbo, y no tenemos un objeto, pero un adjetivo. So, sujeto, subject, predicado, predicate. We really only need 2 or 3 words to build a sentence in Spanish. Ahora, la estructura de oraciones en inglés y español. El orden básico más común es sujeto, verbo, objeto. El orden básico más común es sujeto, verbo, objeto. So the most common order, the most common basic order is subject, verb, object. English is much more strict about that. But to make a declaration, a statement, sujeto, verbo, objeto. Por ejemplo, Anna plays the guitar. Subject, verb, object. Anna plays the guitar. En español, Ana toca a la guitarra. Sujeto, verbo, objeto. Ana toca a la guitarra. Entonces, el orden más común, el orden normal, sería sujeto, verbo, objeto. El orden común, el orden normal, sujeto, verbo, objeto. Pero para hacer preguntas, to make or ask questions, para hacer preguntas en inglés y español, nosotros necesitamos empezar con un verbo. We need to start with a verb. Nosotros necesitamos empezar con un verbo. Okay, so here are some declarations, 2 statements. Anna plays the guitar. Subject, verb, object. Great. Ana toca a la guitarra. Sujeto, verbo, objeto. We know that. Super duper. Now, to ask a question, we must start with the verb. Necesitamos empezar con el verbo. It's actually, there's something like that in English as well. So if you look at does Anna play the guitar, you have a helping verb. It's very old-fashioned to ask, plays Anna the guitar? But if you look at your old King James Bibles, you'll see that same structure being followed, starting sentences with a verb. Sometimes there's a helping verb, right? Like doth. Doth he desire pizza? Okay? But you could ask, desireth he pizza? So they used to exist in English, but now we always use the helping verb. Okay? But that helping verb tunes us in to know. It's more than just the tone. We know from the helping verb that a question is coming. Okay? If we started with, she or he or Anna, we would know it's a statement. Anna does play the guitar is a statement, right? Does Anna play the guitar? Helping verb. En español, oh, I have a typo in my lecture and I'm already recording, so I'm just going to go with it. You will see that it's properly labeled, okay, starting with the verbo. Toca Ana a la guitarra, so that should say, toca Ana a la guitarra. Toca Ana a la guitarra. Empezamos, we start, empezamos con el verbo. So as you're taking notes, do not write what I wrote there. It should not be Ana toca. Instead, it should be toca Ana a la guitarra. Okay. Does Bob eat pizza? Come Bob a la pizza? Okay, so start with the verb. Toca Ana a la guitarra. That's all you guys are going to get for now with starting questions. Now, we studied some question words, donde, como, cual, and that's what we're going to start with. Okay, and then the verb. So if we have a question that has a question word, it's question word, then verb, then subject, object. Okay. Ustedes vieron a una lista de 25 verbos, los 25 verbos AR más comunes. Okay, so you have 25 verbs, the most common AR verbs that were in a handout for you last week. Okay, and I'm going to go over them to help you in studying them. This is an opportunity for you to write these down again. I know you've been studying them, but this is a chance for you to write down. I'm going to go nice and slow in both Spanish and in English, their meanings. And we're going to have a powerhouse or vocabulary of the 25 most commonly used AR verbs in Spanish. Okay, so estar, to be, dar, to give, llegar, to arrive, pasar, to spend time, to pass, to happen. ¿Qué pasa? What's going on? What's happening? ¿Qué pasó? What happened? Quiero pasar tiempo con mi tío. I want to spend time with my uncle. Quiero pasar tiempo con mi tío. Quedar, to stay or remain. Quédate aquí, stay here. Hablar, to speak. Pause now if you want to take notes. Llevar, to take away. So if you're in a restaurant, you order a bunch of tacos, you'll be asked, ¿para aquí o para llevar? Para llevar, gracias. Dejar, to leave, to allow, to let, to leave behind, abandon. Encontrar, to find or encounter. Llamar, to call, to name. Me llamo Joffre. Llama al perro, call the dog. Llama al perro. Pensar, to think. Tomar, to take. So some of you guys may know, this is just a personal anecdote, keep taking notes. Some of you all may know that I'm a Brazilian, I grew up in Brazil. We spoke English in the house. When we moved to the States, I started using the word pensate, which is totally made up, and I knew it was made up. I just thought it was fun. Pensate, to think, right? It makes sense, because that occurs a lot where you have these cognates, right? Well, my sister, who was 6 years younger, thought that pensate was a real word, and she used it at volleyball practice one day and got a lot of weird looks, and she confronted me when we got home. So I had her convinced that pensate was a word. Pensate is not a word, but pensar significa to think in inglés. Tratar de, to try. So that de is there in parentheses because whenever you're trying to do something, trato de something else, right? So trato de correr. I am trying to run. Trato de aprender español. I am trying to learn Spanish. Just like we use to. I am trying to. Trato de aprender español. Mirar, to look at or watch. Yo miro la televisión. Contar, to count. So an accountant is a contador, or to tell. Okay. Cuéntame qué pasó. Tell me what happened. Cuéntame qué pasó. empezar, to begin. Esperar is a very fun verb. It means to wait. It means to hope. It means to expect. Which means, if you have in your Spanish-speaking Bible, espero mi Señor, espero por mi Señor, espero por el Señor, it can mean I wait upon the Lord, I hope for the Lord, I expect the Lord, which I think is actually pretty cool. And it all comes from the Latin root spe. Spe means hope. So esperar, to wait, esperar, to hope, esperar, to expect. Buscar, to search for, to look for. Entrar, to enter, go in. If you're still taking notes, pause the video now. Trabajar, to work. Recordar, to remember, recall, remind. Now, I do want to mention that in most countries, when people say to remember, they actually say acordar. Okay, but recordar works for all three of these, and I believe it's what's most common in Mexico. Terminar, to finish or end. Comenzar, just like commence, right? To begin, to start. Sacar, to take out. And necesitar, to need or require. So that's the last of the list. If you're taking notes, you should pause now. So we have looked at all of these verbs, which gives us a bunch of ammunition. And what we need to do now, as we progress in nuestra clase, is to master the present conjugation of ERs and IRs, because we're moving to new tenses in just a couple of weeks. Okay? Now, we've looked at this once before. We're going to look at it again. And the way we're going to approach the ER and IR verbs is that you guys are going to remember this. You guys are going to memorize these example ER or IRs, or memorize the paradigms, o es e, hemos es en. You're going to be able to do ERs and IRs as easily as you do ARs on your own. Okay, and then we'll move on to that next tense following the same pattern, mastering the AR and then extending it to the ER and IR. So ER verbs look just like AR verbs, except that where you would see an A in the present conjugation for an AR verb, you see an E. So yo como, tú comes, right? If it were andar, an AR verb, it would be tú andas, AS. Here it's ES. So, yo como, tú comes, él come, nosotros comemos, vosotros coméis, ellos comen. Okay? So, it's exactly like AR, except that it's ER, so there's an E where the A would be. Okay? But it follows the exact same pattern. The third most common conjugation, regular conjugation, is IR. It occurs less than AR and ER, and it is a little funkier. You should think of it as the cousin or brother of the ER conjugation. It's quite similar. It looks like an ER conjugation except for nosotros and vosotros. So you'll see I've put some letters in bold. Abrir, to open. Yo abro, tú abres, él abre. So far, just like ER. But then it's nosotros abrimos, vosotros abrís. And notice with vosotros that it's one letter. So if I go back to comer, it's like the AR, there are two letters. Andáis, coméis. Here it's just abrís. There's an I with an accent. And then back to looking like an ER. Ellos abren. Abro, abres, abre. Abrimos, abrís, abren. Abro, abres, abre. Abrimos, abrís, abren. Okay? So it's ER and IR verbs. This means that you can now conjugate any regular verb that comes at you into the present indicative. Okay, let's talk about the verb ir, which you guys have recently completed a worksheet on, or are perhaps working on that worksheet now. Ir is to go. It's a very important verb, and it is highly irregular. Now, you find that the pattern of this conjugation feels regular. It's going to get weirder. The more tenses we look at ir in, the weirder it's going to get. Words like fue or iba. Okay? For now, it's going to stay pretty regular looking, except that it's already weird that voy and vas have apparently nothing to do with ir. So ir is to go, but then it's yo voy, tú vas, él va, nosotros vamos, vosotros vais, ellos van. Voy, vas, va, vamos, vais, van. Okay? Now, this verb is obviously very important because we use the verb to go in English all the time, in Spanish all the time as well. Now, it's not used as a helping verb quite as much, but in one very important way, and similar to English, it is used. We can use ir to talk about el futuro inmediato. Ir para hablar del futuro inmediato. Ir to talk about the immediate future. So, use ir plus the word a, go to, for the same result as going to in English. What do I mean by that? You can say, I am going to eat, word for word, to talk about the immediate future. And if you name the time, you can even talk about a future that's more distant, right? So maybe it's Saturday. So yo voy a comer, I am going to eat. Yo voy a comer el sábado, I'm going to eat on Saturday. It's a little weird that you might wait till then. You could even say, I'm going to eat next year. Yo voy a comer el año que viene, the year that comes. Voy a comer el año que viene. So, voy a is the same as going to. Tú vas a estudiar la biología. You are going to study biology. Ellos van a llevar dos pizzas. They are going to take away 2 pizzas. They're going to take out 2 pizzas. Ellos van a llevar dos pizzas. Okay, so without even studying another tense, we can already now talk about a present future. Okay, boom. Okay, now we get to what I think is the fun part, getting some new vocabulary. So at this point in the lecture is basically over. But I want you guys to listen to my pronunciation of all these words and of the notes that I might make. Okay? There are 12 words, 10 to 12 words on each slide. There are 4 slides. It's a lot of vocabulary. Okay? So you guys should use this, the rest of this video, to take notes. You can write as I talk. You can pause me. You can, after listening to my pronunciation at least once, simply go from slide to slide in the video and note these down. Okay? Granos, or grains, cereals, right? Granos, grains. Tortillas, tortillas. You guys know what tortillas are. So tortillas. And we've talked a little bit about in class how tortilla and torta can mean different things in different countries. But here, clearly from the picture, we're going with Mexican tortillas. Fideos. Fideos o pasta. Fideos o pasta. Noodles. Arroz. Panqueques or panquecas. Panqueques or panquecas. It says Anglicism there because it's straight from English. Pastelito, little cake. Cereal. Pan. Bagueta is sometimes used for French bread. That's a Gallicism. A Gallicism means that it's a Frenchicism. Trigo. Trigo is wheat. Harina de trigo, wheat flour. Trigo, trigo is wheat. Croissant. And then panecillo y mantequilla o queso crema. So panecillo is just a cute little bread. They have it here for bagel. Panecillo. Los vegetales. Brécol. Zanahoria. Apio. And let me tell you what, in Chile, the apios are like this big. Their base is this wide. They are 5 times as big as any apio you have ever seen in the United States. It's remarkable. Maíz. Champiñones. Champiñones. Calabaza, and calabaza, truthfully, is any squash. Calabaza. Papas or patatas. I think Luke mentioned patatas in an assignment of his recently. That's Spanish. Pretty much across Latin America, it's papas. Cebolla, tomate, lechuga. And in case you're in doubt of what a cebolla is from this picture, it's an onion. Las frutas. Sandia. Sandia is watermelon. In Albuquerque, there are the Sandia Mountains because they turn pink with the sunset. Melon is melon, generically speaking. So melon, sandia. Fresa, although in many countries, frutilla, little fruit. Frutilla can mean strawberry or berry. Fresa is the most common. Ciruela, plum. Piña, pera. Naranja, uvas. Limón, banana, guineo, o plátano. You never know. And banano is actually what they have written down, and that's common too. So plátano is probably what you'll most commonly see with Central American, Mexican, Spanish. Manzana, mango, y melocotón. That's peach. Melocotón. And I love Spanish. Spanish makes me feel good. This word does not make me feel good. It doesn't make sense to me that a peach would be a melocotón, but there it is. That's what it is. You and I have to accept it. Melocotón. Finally, my favorite slide. Carnes y otras proteínas, other proteins. Huevo. Habichuelas o frijoles. I don't know why they have this in protein. If you combine rice and beans, you get an amazing protein. You can get protein as if you were eating meat by eating rice and beans. And that's one of the reasons it's a staple across so much of Latin America and Africa. Habichuelas is common in most of the Spanish-speaking world. Frijol is, makes sense. People know what it is. In Mexico, though, the main word is frijol, frijoles. Jamón, jamonilla, chorizo. Chorizo is a kind of sausage. Jamón is ham. Salchichas. In some countries, sausage, but in most countries, a specific kind of sausage, a Vienna sausage, or as you probably call it, a wiener or hot dog. Salchicha. So if you go to a restaurante mexicano and you ask for a torta or sandwich, it is very likely that regardless what kind of sandwich it is, they're going to slide in some salchichas as well, which I think is an amazing habit. So it'll be like a ham and pineapple sandwich and with lettuce and tomatoes and all these other things, and they'll slide in a layer of hot dogs, salchichas. Atún. Atún is tuna. And just for funsies, if you go into a Latin market, you may actually find something called tuna. Tuna, though, is a prickly pear fruit. So tuna is a prickly pear fruit. The fish, tuna fish, is atún. Bistec is another Anglicism from beef steak. So bistec is a steak. Nueces are nuts. Camarón, pollo, cangrejo. Cerdo is pig, so carne de cerdo, pig meat. Okay, puerco is also pig, but we're not going to say that. We have to say carne de cerdo. And finally, pescado. Now, the note on pescado is this. The animal, the swimming fish, is a pez. P-E-Z, P-E-Z. Pez. That's the animal that lives and swims and passes water through its gills. If it has been fished, it is a pescado, because to fish is pescar. Pescado is the past participle. So any fish you eat is pescado. What you're basically saying is, I'll have the fished. I'll have the fished stuff. Quiero pescado. Okay, so pescado, fish you eat. Boom. A myriad of words. So now, what that means for us is that we can go into this unit on building sentences and writing with vocabulary having to do with family, having to do with the house, having to do with school, and having to do now with food. Okay? Besides whatever odds and ends you might have picked up. So soon we'll be able to start talking about places because we'll be talking about prepositions, and everything will be coming together wonderfully. So, new vocabulary for you to study. Hopefully at this point you have or are close to remembering all 25 of those verbs, and ir is feeling good for us. All right, hasta jueves. See you guys later.